say.
Well, I've been saying for forever, they refuse to identify who patient zero was. Well, I think they've caught on to that now.
Right. Well,
they are trying to peddle a person in China from Wuhan as patient zero now, and I don't know that I buy it. But they know that they have to try to identify somebody as patient zero to set up whatever story they're going to go with.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I buy fully into the Wuhan lab theory that it was created there. I actually think it may have been. But I'm not willing to jump in with both feet. But I do think it is highly possible and maybe even very probable that it got out with somebody from that lab to these, to the back stands and whatever else, and infected people at that area accidentally. I don't think they purposefully leashed it. But I do think it's a high probability that it wasn't natural, that it did come from there, and they got out of control. And that's why they've been in cover-up mode ever since.
Yeah.
There's no denying they've been covering up the statistics and where that it originated there originally. And
and do you think the recovery's really on over there?
I think to this point, well, they definitely, I think, got to be in the downhill slide. But yeah,
I would have to agree with you.
Being honest with the stats, I doubt it. I wouldn't trust anything that comes out of there.
Yeah, I will say I have some suppliers because I'm in the auto business, right? The auto manufacturing business. And I have suppliers in China who are now back to work in their Chinese factories. And they were down. They were flat out. And they're back. They're not 100%, but they're back, and they are producing again and shipping. And so things are back in the pipeline from China already. So if you say, let's say China went end of November, call it December, January, February, they were back online this month. Say, figure it's a 4-month turnaround for them to get back online. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get through this.
With all the extra precautions and overboard as we've gone, I think it should be less of a curve than they did because, again, they were just dishonest about it. I mean, they locked up that one doctor. He died now. The guy who tried to sound the warning and prevent them from holding that big festival around Wuhan, which infected so many more people in China because countless thousands come from all over China for that, whatever that festival was. But again, we can't trust the numbers because we can't trust the stuff, the products even that come out of China. I don't remember what countries, but there were 2 countries who shipped back the tests that China was giving them to test for the virus because they kept getting faulty results.
Yeah, Spain and Italy.
Positives and negatives contradicting. You can't trust their test.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't trust
the test. You don't know what the numbers are.
Yeah. The thing I look at when it comes to the conspiracy, right, is who profits the most out of this? Who benefits the most out of not necessarily profit, but who benefits the most? And the one thing that really has fallen off the map, and I'm sure China is happy as can be about it, is the Hong Kong protests, right? Number one.
Oh, yeah, the Hong Kong protests.
All of a sudden it's gone. There's not a protest going on anywhere in there. The other thing I look at...
I'm sure you saw the interview from the guy from the World Health Organization, which is nothing more than a puppet
of China
Xi and the Chinese, who, when confronted about what's going on in Taiwan, another disputed territory, refused to answer any questions about it.
Yeah.
And they excluded Taiwan and Hong Kong from any of the World Health Organization gatherings regarding the Wuhan virus because China does not want them recognized as independent provinces.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then you mentioned the trade war. I mean, we were winning this trade war flat. You were another guy that you thought the trade, the embargoes and tariffs were crazy talk, right? But it worked.
Right.
Right? And it was working.
I have always been consistent about it. I am anti-tariff.
Yeah.
However, Trump is effectively using it.
Yeah.
I have to give him credit for that. This is one of those times where bending the principle may work. It's the only alternative we have with China. What else are we going to do? Are we going to invade them over it?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, I mean, that's not an option.
Yeah, so here's the other thing I look at China. Being the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, it's a dictatorship for life with President Xi. I got to wonder how many dissidents, spies, alleged spies, troublemakers that China at this point across their entire country just said, all those people are going to die today of coronavirus. Go get them. Go round them up, seal them in a room, do what you got to do. Let's get these people squared away, and we're done with them. We're cleaning house in China.
They're not afraid to round up any group that speaks out against them in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been known for years. I
wonder what
that thinks that's a conspiracy theory has not been paying attention. So, why would it be any different now that they would not use that as an excuse to round up people and they disappear and land up with coronavirus death certificates?
Yep, exactly right. And you got to ask yourself, what is going to be the population comparison before and after in those Uyghur camps where the Chinese had rounded up all the Uyghurs and had been using them allegedly for organ harvesting and slave labor and everything else? I wonder what the population control going on in those camps is right now.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to mention that too. I agree. That's the classic example of basically almost a genocide going on in China. It's not a conspiracy theory. We have spies. We have defectors. They admit, that come here, have escaped, and they admit to it going on and why they oppose their own government. The bottom line still always is, with these liberals always whining about the U.S., and they're the ones out there now spouting the communist Chinese talking points. Well, if you love China or Cuba or or Venezuela so much, you never leave America to go there.
Right, but they all come here.
They never leave.
Yeah.
People are always still dying and fighting to come here.
Yeah. Well, let's do one last thing on this because we're going to wind down here. We're getting close to an hour, and I'm glad I was able to get hold of you because this has been really enjoyable for me. It's good to hear from you and talk to you again. The two other hotspots in the world, the really bad hotspots, ended up being Iran, right? 15,000 dead right now in Iran, including 17 top administrators in Iran. And you got to wonder, why Iran? What was it?
Well, it's because very simple.
Yeah, go ahead, say it.
All the collaboration between China and Iran with the missile program and everything, because they are basically a Chinese communist satellite nation.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the same with Italy, because when I was looking into my Wuhan virus article, I raised the question on Twitter: why Italy? I'm of partly Italian descent. Well, one, they have a very aged population, so they're at highest risk. But what finally came out is there are over 100,000 Chinese migrants in Italy.
Yes,
and that's textile and other industries.
Yeah.
It's like a little satellite, a little communist China in northern Italy, and those people have been going back and forth, and more than 10,000 of them are from Wuhan.
Yep.
So it's very understandable why both Italy and Iran have as much a problem with it, the Wuhan virus, as China does itself. If, again, this is not tinfoil hat stuff, if you actually look at the facts and the data, but again, the mainstream media want you to think it's all conspiracy theory.
Yeah, and the backstory behind the big Chinese presence in Italy is exactly that textile industry. So many of the textile mills and those smallish Italian companies, the older Italian people were looking to sell their companies. Guess who they sold to? The Chinese.
Yep.
And because so many, they imported all those Chinese workers because Italy does have an aging population. They don't want to work anymore. They're part of the EU, right? Retire early over there. So that's why. And then the last part of the equation was when it goes back to political correctness, kills, right? The Italian government, they put on a little program, Hug an Asian. That was an actual thing in Italy. Hug an Asian. Make them feel comfortable. We don't want them feeling like we're being racist and not welcoming that. So you've got old people.
Crap, like they tried to pull on Trump when he closed down the flights from China.
Yes.
Xenophobic, and they tried that same political correctness crap in Italy, and it caused a much more massive infection. The political correctness kills.
It does, and that's a great way to stop. Joe, I'm so glad we had you on.
Well, let me throw in one last thing before we go, because people look up your old Wham Days Daily Drift show. You and I was on your show. We did a show about suicide.
Yeah,
and people are desperate. People are desperate now. People aren't working. People are huddled in their homes. Depression is setting in. Reach out by phone or Skype or whatever to friends, family, neighbors. People need you now.
Yeah.
Suicide rates are up. That's not being reported because of all the paranoia going on, but suicide rates have skyrocketed. People, you need to check on others' mental health as much as their physical health right now.
Yeah, I'll agree with you because, Joe, I'm the same way. Here, I've been cooped up in this house, and I don't have my son with me all the time right now because I have him most of the time during the school year. And so this is kind of time for his mom to get him more. And so I'm alone, cooped up in a house, and you're thinking it's dream time because I'm home alone, yay. It only goes so far, you know? After a while, you're like, I got to get out of here. Where are the people? I always think of myself as the lone wolf guy, right? I'm not. I can't stand the fact that I got nobody to talk to all day, you know. It's just So that's a great point.
We got to keep our sense of humor about us too. So I've been joking with people. It's like I've been decades ahead of everybody on this social distancing thing because people are gross and I don't want to be anywhere near them. I've been antisocial my whole life. I've always been 6 feet away from people.
Yeah. All right. Well, Joe, this was wonderful. Thanks for calling in. It was great having you on. We're going to do this again for sure, my friend.
All right, I greatly appreciate it, and I hope everybody made it through to the end. I hope I didn't lose them.
No, we still got it. We'll have you on again, Joe. You're always educated and a great guy to have on, so we'll get you on again. Thanks you so much, brother.
All right, thank you, my friend. I love you.
Take
care.
Too.
God bless.
All right, God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was Joe Lenard from Wyandotte, and one of my favorite people to talk to. Just a great guy, very informative, very politically knowledgeable, and just a great guy. Well, so we'll get Joe on more often. He's a good guy, and boy, that hour went super fast, right? So make sure you go into thedailydrift.com, and if you're not going there, you should, www.thedailydrift.com. It's the news you need to know. It is a conservative news aggregate. I scour the internet for the stories you don't see on the mainstream media. And make sure you're going there so that you can stay up on that news you need to know as well. So, as always, good to have you along for the ride. I appreciate you tuning in and making sure that you go to thedailydrift.com. So, until next time, tune in to thedailydrift.com. We'll see you. Bye-bye.